This is The Fear of Falling Apart, a short story written by myself. Several weeks had passed since the cracks started showing upon the logical side's skin, and it was becoming harder to conceal. They were colored a bright orange and spread all across his face and arms, a reminder of the small time he had left unless he could stop them from appearing. The concept of the cracks wasn't terribly difficult to understand. Ever since he had first been created, he had been tied to another side, Wrath. Luckily, Wrath didn't have much power then, meaning that Logan had complete control. Things were different now, though. Over the years, Wrath became more visible, showing within his speech and expressions, and eventually on the cracks that appeared on his skin. Each time Logan was ignored or pushed to the side brought on the perfect opportunity for Wrath to gain that much more power over him. If he couldn't find some way to stop the cracks from appearing soon, he would be taken over by the vengeful side and erased from existence. For the good of the mindscape, that couldn't be allowed to happen. Still, slowing this process was becoming much more difficult to do, considering the other sides had no intention of listening to him. With each dismissal, he felt a painful fracture, and it took every ounce of his self-control not to cry out when it occurred around the others. He had managed not to raise suspicions, but he was quickly running out of time. Trying anything to stop Wrath from erasing him, Logan stopped interacting with the others as much as possible, only exiting the safety of his room to eat and film. All this isolation couldn't be beneficial for any side, though Logan knew it was truly the only way to protect the others. If it meant preserving the wonderful world they had created within Thomas's mind, then Logan was willing to figuratively take one for the team and sever all the ties he had formed with those he cared about. Adjusting his glasses, Logan stepped into the view of a mirror, observing the most recent breach that wound down his neck and right shoulder. After staying up all night trying to find a cure for his current predicament, he hadn't found the energy to conceal it yet. Sighing, he grabbed a small container of ivory foundation and began to carefully cover the orange markings. He had almost finished applying the liquid over his skin before he felt a familiar twinge. Wincing, he fell to his knees as his form flickered in and out of transparency. It lasted for a few seconds, leaving Logan gasping once he finally stopped trembling. It was happening again. Despite everything he had done, Wrath was still gaining the upper hand. How much time did he have left before it was too late? Before everything went to ruins? Logan didn't have a choice. He had to inform the others of what was happening before things became worse. Quickly applying the pasty foundation over the last of the wound, Logan left the safety of his room. He quietly made his way down to the stairs and into the kitchen. Patton and Roman sat at the kitchen table, appearing to be making a painting of some sort, while Virgil sat atop the counter, headphones covering his ears. Attempting to catch the side's attention, Logan nervously cleared his throat, causing Patton to glance up. The moral side's face immediately lit up. "Hey there, kiddo! We haven't seen you in a while. What brings you down to the kitchen on this fine morning?" "Well, I left my room because I believe there is something that I may need to discuss." "Boring," Roman interrupted. "If you're here to talk about your schedule again, you might as well save it. We are all quite aware of what is going on at the moment and would appreciate it if we weren't reminded of it every 5 minutes. "Be nice, Roman," Patton scolded. "The schedule is something that Logan dedicates lots of time into creating. You should respect it just as he respects your creative projects." "Actually, I wasn't talking about—" "That dull collection of dates and times is nothing in comparison to the ideas I devise on a daily basis. Honestly, I'm not even sure what the point of it is. It's not like we need our day broken down into 5-minute increments. It's important to Logan, so we will acknowledge it. Not everything has to make sense to you for it to be meaningful." Logan sighed, trying to refocus the conversation. If I could just gain your attention for a moment, there is something I must inform you about that could have detrimental effects on the mindscape." The others didn't even lift their head in his direction, as they were too immersed in their own conversation. "Oh, please, Patton," Roman continued. "You act like you actually care about what Logan produces. When was the last time you looked at that calendar of his?" Well, it's been a while, but that doesn't mean Logan doesn't make important contributions to the group." "Such as?" Oh, there was that one time when he..." Patton's voice quickly trailed off. "Or how about when he..." "See, you can't even come up with one time in which Logan made a helpful contribution." "That doesn't mean he isn't important. You know we need logic. The mindscape would fall apart without a sense of reasoning." "Would it?" That hurt. Bad. Logan quickly bit his cheek as he felt a large cracked surface on his left forearm. Flinching, he swiftly hid it behind his back, hoping that Patton and Roman hadn't noticed in the midst of their discussion. The logical side had never witnessed a statement that had caused him to feel so much pain. Did the others really think he wasn't useful? Would they even notice if he was gone? It sure didn't seem like it at the moment. Patton immediately turned to face Roman after his statement. His normally smiling face shifted into a stern expression. "Roman Creativity Sanders, we never say such things in this mindscape. Each one of us is equally important. You know that." He turned to face Logan's direction. "I am so sorry he said those things, Logan. What were you wanting to tell us?" Logan suddenly felt his mind race. He had to get out of there. If Patton came any closer, he would see the crack, and then everything would crumble into ruins. Rapidly trying to come up with an excuse, he started to shuffle towards the stairwell. "It is nothing of concern, Patton," he stammered. "I can address it later. I will figuratively be out of your way now." Logan began to make his way up the stairs, ignoring the searing pain that accompanied the new marking on his skin. "Are you sure you're okay, kiddo? If you need to talk, we're here for you." "I'm quite all right, just a little drowsy. It would be best that I get some rest as soon as possible." Logan continued to walk up the stairs, his pace quickening. "All right, but..." "Just leave him, Patton," Roman said. "He'll be fine." With that, the logical side had made it to his room, shutting the door behind him. Inspecting the damage, his eyes grew wide as he realized how much had actually been done. This crack was much larger than the others, colored a bright orange and resembling that of a Lichtenberg figure. It surrounded his wrist and wrapped all the way up to his shoulder, providing the all-too-familiar ache. Deciding it was best not to leave this most recent wound uncovered, Logan reached for the jar of foundation, carefully unscrewing the lid. He had just finished concealing the orange coloring before a knock sounded at his door. "Logan? It's Virgil. I just wanted to make sure that you were okay after everything that Princey said." Logan didn't respond. He simply stood at his desk, waiting for the sound of footsteps to indicate that Virgil had taken the hint that Logan was in no mood to talk and gone away. Every time he had tried to approach the others, he had ended up with another crack, and chances were that this interaction wasn't going to be any different. It was better to avoid any chance at Wrath gaining more of an upper hand. A second knock sounded on the other side of the door, causing Logan to grow tense. Why wouldn't Virgil just leave him alone and ignore him like the others? There was no way that he actually cared, though with each second that passed, the logical side grew a little more curious. Maybe things would be different. He slowly walked over to the door, about to turn the silver handle before a painful spasm caused him to fall to the floor with a thud. "Logan?" A panicked voice called from the other side of the door. Logan couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't breathe as he flickered in and out of reality. All he could process was the stabbing pain that continued to pulsate within him. A loud crash surfaced from within the room, but Logan couldn't pinpoint exactly where it had come from, though he thought he had caught a glimpse of his door swinging open. The dull ache had begun to fade, allowing him to lift his head to come face to face with a horrified Virgil. The anxious side stared at him, eyes wide. "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" he exclaimed, panicked by Logan's flickering appearance. I'm fine," Logan managed to sputter out, though he knew Virgil clearly didn't believe him. He stood shakily, grabbing the edge of his desk for support. With a sudden wince, the logical side lurched forward, Virgil catching him before he collapsed to the floor. "Careful! You need to sit down," he said, carefully directing Logan to a black chair that had been tucked next to the desk. After ensuring that Logan wasn't about to fall over again, Virgil nervously watched the fading subside. Once Logan appeared to be stable again, he shot the intellectual side a questioning look, his expression both a mix of worry and confusion. "What just happened to you?" "It's nothing," Logan tried to defend himself. It was no use. Virgil had seen the worst of it firsthand. There was no way he could hide anymore, and though this caused him to feel slightly more comforted, it also brought an inescapable feeling of dread. Taking a deep breath, he brought his gaze to meet Virgil's own. "I am losing control," he stated simply, the confession spilling out of him as if the floodgates had magically been opened. "Ever since my creation, I have been tied to another side, Wrath. Recently, he has become more powerful, and I am afraid my time is limited. With each dismissal, I gain a mark." Logan wiped away a splotch of foundation to reveal an orange crack. "The more I get, the more I lose control. Each opportunity gives him that much power, and if it keeps going, I'll be erased from existence." "That can't happen though, right?" Virgil asked. "Your logic, if you were to be erased from the mindscape, everything would fall apart." Logan sighed. The flickering, "I'm running out of time, and I still don't know how to stop it. I've tried hiding from anything that could trigger it, but it's not slowing anything down. I don't know what to do. I've never lacked a solution to something this detrimental before. Wrath is going to eliminate me. I know it. One more slip-up and I'll be gone. I can't be erased. I don't want to vanish." His breathing suddenly sped up, tears flowing freely down his cheeks and washing away the foundation to reveal a sea of orange cracks. I'm petrified. I don't want to fade away. I can't. Virgil watched the logical side's emotionless facade fall as he broke down. He'd never seen Logan like this before, and it caused him to feel great worry. "Logan, I need you to try and breathe for me, all right?" he said, watching the other side meet his gaze. "Can I touch you?" Logan nodded as Virgil grasped his hand. Making sure not to alarm him, Virgil placed Logan's hand upon his chest. "Try and focus on my breathing. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. Try and do it with me." Virgil observed as Logan began to calm down, his breathing slowing as they continued. "That's perfect. You're doing great. We're almost there. Could you tell me some of your favorite things?" There's no point. I don't understand the relevance of..." "Trust me." Virgil spoke softly, making sure not to cause any more alarm. "All right. I enjoy novels, the color indigo, evolutionary history, environmental studies, peppermint tea with honey, and quiet. Yeah, quiet is good for when the world gets too overwhelming," Virgil muttered as Logan gave a small nod. "What am I going to do?" "I'm terrified, Virgil. I'm falling apart, disappearing, and I don't know how to heal myself. I'm scared to lose the sight of the morning sunrise or the happiness that comes with turning the page in a new novel. I'm scared of losing everything I hold dear. And worst of all, I'm scared of losing you and the others." His eyes met Virgil's own, and suddenly he felt like sobbing all over again. Virgil quickly pulled Logan into a tight embrace, wrapping his arms around the logical side and whispering quiet reassurances. "It's going to be all right, you hear me? I know you're afraid, but we're going to be okay. But the cracks, what if... Hey, don't think about that. I'm not going to let you get hurt, I promise. I can help explain to the others if you don't want to. I'm sure they would understand immediately. We're going to help you out of this, Lo." "Really? Does bismuth have an atomic number of 83? Virgil smiled. "I do suppose it does. It also has a melting point of 520.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Logan mumbled, causing Virgil to laugh. This caused an overwhelming sense of comfort to fill his mind. Logan felt cared about, something he hadn't witnessed in a very long time. It was quite unlike the emotions he had encountered when debating with the others or trying to display his points. For once, there was someone who listened, someone who thought he was important. Everything he had been lacking with each crack that had been formed was suddenly fulfilled, and he melted deeper into Virgil's arms. Finally parting, Logan looked up to meet Virgil's gaze and the soft grin that accompanied it. He couldn't help but smile at the sight of this, noticing for the first time how much he had truly missed a life free of isolation. Maybe, just maybe, his broken pieces could once again be assembled. After all, even the deepest wounds can still heal. This has been The Fear of Falling Apart, a short story written by myself. Thank you so very much for listening, and I will see you next time for another wonderful story.